Welcome to Delta Waterfowl's The Voice of the Duck Hunter podcast. I'm your host, Joel Brice, with another episode that was recorded with a live audience at Delta's Duck Hunters Expo in Oklahoma City this past July. Today we're diving into what really matters when it comes to your retriever. Not just the training, but the connection. We're joined by Team Eukanuba's Jeremy Criscoe of Whistling Wings Kennels and Brad Arington of Mossy Pond Retrievers, two of the best in the business. They've each trained hundreds of dogs, competed at the highest levels of the retrieve game, and helped everyday hunters build lasting relationships with their duck dogs. Today we'll explore how to better understand your retriever, how to train with purpose, and how to become a team in the blind and at home. With that introduction, let's get started. Jeremy Criscoe, Brad Arington, welcome to the Delta Waterfowl podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, we're going to do this real quick. There are cameras. So when I say Jeremy Criscoe, raise your hand. And then Brad, I guess that leaves you process of elimination.
Yes, sir.
Well, welcome. Appreciate it. Love having you guys here at the expo. Obviously, we love Eukanuba, but I love picking brains of dog experts. So.
This is an amazing event. A lot of people out, and excited to be here. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, beautiful. Now, Jeremy, you're from Alabama?
Alabama.
You
We're up in the north part, close to Huntsville, just south a little bit.
Yeah? You don't have as strong of an accent as I would have expected?
It can be there.
It can get there?
Yeah.
Kind of changes with the room?
Yes.
So you're a U.S. Navy veteran?
Yes. Yeah,
Thank
I
you.
was stationed up in Norfolk, Virginia for about 5 years,
Okay.
and then came back home after that.
And then it says here, former rescue swimmer?
Yes.
You look like you could still do it, though.
I don't know about that. That's, always hated running, but always loved swimming, and it's always natural.
Yeah?
But I am way out of shape right now. So.
Well, there's lots of different shapes,
Yeah.
right? So
Mine's
you're in
getting
shape.
round.
That's all right. Brad, you live in Georgia.
Yes, sir. Southeast Georgia, around Waycross, Georgia.
Okay. And then we were just kind of talking before getting on here is that you also have kind of expanded your footprint to Nebraska.
Yes, sir. Bassett, Nebraska. We have a lodge out there. We run some dogs out there and run a hunting operation, ducks and pheasant and big game, turkeys, rios, merriams, and then whitetail and mule deer.
Nice. Nice. And I think, you have a recognizable face possibly from people seeing you on the Fowl Life TV show.
Yes, sir.
You still do that?
Yeah. That was we did it harder when I didn't have 4 kids and everything. But yes, me and Chad Belding with the Fowl Life have a great relationship, and he is a big user of and big promoter of Eukanuba as well, and that's how we've built the relationship over the years. Just understanding and knowing that Eukanuba provides the fuel that our dogs need to be able to perform on his show and in my field trials, hunt test, and with my gun dogs that I'm training. So we still do tips for the Fowl Life. I just don't follow the migration as hard as Chad does anymore with 4 kids back home.
Well, I tell you what, that chapter in my life is starting to come to an end. I have a 18-year-old going off to college this fall. That'll be our first kid leaving the nest, and 15-year-old daughter, sophomore in high school, but I can see the end, and I'm afraid. I'm absolutely afraid of it.
It'll be quiet around there.
But it's a different relationship, right?
Yep.
So maybe I should be looking forward to that. Before we get into today's topic, and I'll just give a quick little glimpse at it, but this is probably, I'd wager to say this is kind of a different take on when you guys ask to speak to the public or join a podcast. It's probably on some tips of, making a better retriever in terms of doing, the mechanical work of that dog and owner relationship. What we really want to focus on this one is, I think it's, I don't know, maybe it's overlooked. I think it is. But just that, a dog, a hunting dog, they don't hunt but a few months of the year, really, and then they're your companion. So we kind of want to explore the bond that hunters have with their dog and different ways that you could strengthen that bond, what role trust plays in the whole equation, And from your experience, if there are, I think, things that people can do to strengthen that, or do you think is a bond just it is what it is and it's going to happen? But don't answer that right now. But I do want to just spend a little bit of time getting the listener to learn about each one of you guys and your story. So, Jeremy, you can go first, but why don't you talk to us about how you got started into dog training? Obviously, in the Navy, I doubt you had a whole lot of dogs that were traveling with you.
Not a lot, no. A lot of the dog work was being done back on land. We were part of air wing that was going out on the carriers and stuff, so we didn't have dogs on board. But for me, it was my grandfather and father were involved with a lot of pointers as I was growing up. But then there was a long pause of my grandfather passing away and me getting up to an age where I was hunting more and more. And it's just not always friends that wanted to hunt, so I always had a dog I could carry with me on the hunt. And then early on, it was, back then there wasn't social media. It was forums, it was websites, it was groups you're getting with that I really started looking into the retriever world. I love quail hunting, I love pointers, but working with them, I don't care anything about it. And it's just, retrievers to me were more personal. Like more hands-on, more in the house, more hunting, more and going and hanging out at a fire or going to the kids' ball games and stuff like that. So it kind of grew from there. The more I read, the more I got into it, the more it grew.
So what was your kind of entry point into the business of dogs?
When I was in the Navy, and we weren't traveling or out to sea. I found a kennel up there that I had actually bought my first chocolate lab, Lacey, and started helping them clean just to get with someone that had experience training, and it kind of built from there. When I left the Navy and came back, that person retired, so I had brought some of the clients with me to kind of continue work, and it just kept growing. I got back home around people that knew me, and they didn't realize I was doing that, and it just word of mouth kept growing. I got out of the Navy, I went full-time school, full-time work, full-time working dogs, and it just got to where I had nothing to do with being in a shop or being in an office. I wanted to be outside, and it just created a way for me to do that.
So what keeps you going?
The dogs.
The dogs?
Yeah.
Easy answer. I threw you a nice softball pitch
Yeah.
there. Yeah. How about you, Brad? So why don't you give the listener your story?
Yeah, I grew up around horses and stuff. My dad broke horses, and we boarded horses and shod horses, and I helped with that all coming up. And by the time I was 17, 18 years old, I hated that. It was work to me. Mm-hmm. But the mentality of training and breaking horses, and we always had a bunch of dogs as well, but the mentality of training and breaking horses kind of led over to dogs. And, of course, just watching the Super Retriever series on the Great Outdoor Games and stuff, it impelled me to, get involved with dogs, and I wanted to check it out. Got me a chocolate lab when I was 17 years old and got the old Water Dog book. And
oh, yeah.
I mean, just everybody's story, right? And took a lot of time. I had a lot of time then and took a lot of time with that dog. And it was just heaven sent that he was a really, really good dog. He taught me more than I taught him and led me to we started going to some local hunts. And my father-in-law, I was just dating Miss Ellen at the time, but I got invited to a kind of a premier dove shoot, and the dog really did a really good job. His name was Bo, and a lot of the who's who in that area came up to me after the hunt and was like, hey, we just saw your 7-month-old puppy out there just show out, so we're interested in maybe you playing with our dog. And a guy gave me a case of shotgun shells, and at the time that was like a gold bar to me. So that was really cool, and one thing led to another. And like the next year at the same shoot, I had 6 or 8 people wanting to do it, and I didn't even know there was a profession in training dogs. I didn't know you could make a living or make money off training dogs. So, one thing led to another, and then after that, then I wanted more knowledge, and then I was seeking out to other people to help me and assist me and train me more. Mr. Hugh Arthur, which is one of the best in the game, in my opinion. Actually, he took a liking to me and actually started helping me and mentoring me. through the years, and that's what led us into field trials and hunt tests and competitions. And it's just been every morning it's like a drug. I wake up and I want more and more and more and more. Just want to go and want to do more. I just love dogs. My passion for dogs is still there, and that's what I see with a lot of dog trainers that fizzle out after they do it 6, 8, 10 years. They just lose that passion. But that passion for the dogs and looking at the smiles on our owners' face when they get back and see what old Joe can do differently, and the things that he can do and how obedient he is, but he can still get the job done. That makes our life happy. I mean, that's what we do. We love it. So day in and day out, we just get to play with dogs and make our customers happy.
That sounds fun.
Yep.
Hey, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life,
That's
right?
right.
Exactly.
Yeah, I think kind of getting into, maybe easing into today's topic, I just want to use maybe my personal experience. So my last 2 labs, and that spans over 25 years, I'll say. So I had a good relationship with both dogs, but I have to say that I have a different relationship with each one of them. The great relationship with the first one, but he had this kind of sense of independence. And if there were other people around, he really wanted to be with them more than me. But at the end of the day, he knew where he was going home to, and great relationship with my current lab, who's 13 now, so I'll be in the business of looking for a new dog pretty soon. But I am the center of his life. He has to be able to see me at all times. It's a strong bond. He comes to work with me every day. What do you guys think? I know this is maybe I'm oversimplifying it with the question that I'm asking, but what do you think is the most overlooked ingredient in building strong connections with dogs?
I think it's taking away distraction, spending time with the dog. 1, 2, I think it's people get in too big of a hurry, too caught up with what they're, getting the dog to hunt with them. They got to do it in this form, this step, and these time frames. And I think when people just slow things down and take the time with the dog, they wind up building a bond that speeds up down the road. I think there's dogs that individually can be a little more independent. It could be the breed, it could be what you're doing with the dog, but a lot of dogs, it's just if you take away distraction, and like I've got kids, he's got kids, it's understanding as a puppy, you've got to take them away from the kids a little bit to build the bond so you're the leader, you're the one that's setting forth everything. Then the kids are still involved, they still build the bond, but they kind of latch on to that one-on-one time you spend with them and do things with them.
Okay. So, in other words, if you have too many distractions in some of those early stages, or you push them past their ability at the moment, you can kind of maybe do some things
Burn
to
them off
deteriorate
of you.
that.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Just like Mr. Jeremy said, about getting away from the kids. I think this is a misconception, and maybe some people will disagree with me, but, even watching documentaries about gorillas and coyotes and wolves, that alpha deal, and I think take alpha, or let's label it as respect, something about that bond, they thrive off of respect. And what I mean by that, we do something at the kennel. We do use e-collars in our training methods, and I think the e-collar is an amazing tool if it's used properly. It can be a bad tool as well, but we do something pretty funny. So a lady will come in and she'll be like, "Brad, are you sure you're going to use that e-collar on Fido? I'm Foo-Foo. I don't want you to hurt him." And I said, "I want to show you something. Go home for a month, and I'm gonna train him. And when you get back, I want to show you something." And all this lady's done is lay on the couch with him and cuddle him and coo him and everything. When she comes back, I said, "All right, pet him. You sit in a chair right here, and I'll sit in a chair over here. And neither one of us will say a word. And in 10 minutes, we'll see where the dog is." And 9 times out of 10, the dog's sitting next to me. Mm-hmm. And so what I'm getting at, that bond that a lot of people think because they hold them and kiss them and coo them and love them and feed them treats and everything, that's creating that bond. But I think Mother Nature and what dogs thrive on and that doesn't mean being you're being ugly to the dog, but they thrive off of that disciplinary action, that showing them the way and that respect more so than I guess the word love. I mean, it's both. It's the love and the respect. That's why these documentaries on the alpha gorilla, they look to that alpha for guidance and leadership. Even though in the documentaries that you watch, it's like, gosh, the alpha's a jerk. But that's what all of them look for. That's where they go when they need protection or danger is near. So and that maybe that's a harsh example, but what I'm getting at is, show them, right from wrong, and teach them, you're going to sit before you get that food. And once you start showing direction and holding them accountable for things like that, that bond really gets strong. And it's almost like a drill sergeant when you go to war, you're looking for him for guidance and showing him, you want him to show you the way. And that's the guy that you look for, right? And that's what I've learned that's surprising to a lot of people and a lot of our owners when I start teaching them that part of it, that alpha mentality. And it can be an 8-year-old, my daughter, or it could be anybody. You don't have to be a big burly man to get that respect. But to create that respect for the dog, that bond will be a bond like you've never seen. So you have to have boundaries and structure to get the ultimate bond, in my opinion, as opposed to
humanization, pack mentality. It's what we tell our clients is like, number one problem with dogs that come to us for training is they humanize them. They lay and love on them. They kiss on them. They feed them. They think that's the way into their mind. I don't care how many decades and years dogs have been around. Their mindset is always built off pack mentality, having the leader, having the alpha, and like, you can do that without ever touching the dog. Go through the doorway first, provide food, recall, treat. There's so many ways of doing it. It's what we call the non-tactile, it's visual. And going through doorways, make the dog sit or hold them back. I go through first, so they start seeing that, and like, there's no rewiring that in a dog's mind. In my opinion,
right.
It's there, and it's usually the number one problem with dogs is the humans. They're doing something that's not in a pack mentality way, and you get dogs that are high strung, that's really bad, or you get dogs that are real timid or laid back. It can be an issue too with socialization. Like, if they look at us as a good leader and a good alpha, we can walk through these crowds and they don't care what's going on because I'm walking through with confidence. They're watching and following me.
Amen. Yeah.
Just like a drill sergeant in boot camp.
That's right.
He knows what's going on. I'm going to do what he's saying. I'm going to follow him.
Amen. Yeah.
That does make a lot of sense, because I think, and because of your background in horses, I'm not going to say I have as extensive as you, but I've had horses for most of my life and done a lot of training. But one of the things fundamental to horse training is that, again, they're a herd animal. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it, and actually in life, don't we all crave hierarchy in some sense?
Sure.
Kind of understand where you fit into the world. And a dog and a horse, they're no different, right? So creating that clear status, it sounds like a weird word, but it's the first one that came to mind. I think it does. It probably settles everybody into the spot. And we have a little house dog as well, in addition to our hunting dog. But we bought that dog hoping that my daughter would develop a bond with it. A little dog hated my daughter.
Yeah.
Because she's like, and I started to explain to her that just kind of the pack mentality. I said, that dog wants to be dominant over you. And so we had to have those conversations of be nice, don't be cruel, but you need to establish your line in the pecking order, and then she might respect you. But that's really good. That's really good. Trust. Is trust a word that you guys use between the dog and the handler?
It is for us. Yeah, I've always placed it as like these guys that own big companies and stuff, successful companies usually has a really good balanced leader. They're going to let you know when you're not doing something right. But the minute you do something good, they're rewarding you very well, and the dog's life is built off that. If you come in from having a bad day and you're mean to the dog, he's going to avoid you, right? So you've got to understand there has to be a balance. You have to tell them when they're doing wrong. You have to praise them when they're doing right, and they gravitate to that. I think it's a very important part. They got to trust that I'm not ever going to do anything bad to them or let them get themselves in trouble.
Do you think that's where an e-collar gets a bad rap, maybe, in that I use one, and I love it. But I think that's where someone who's not skilled with that piece of technology can really confuse a dog if they don't use it right and therefore lose trust?
Well, if it's not black and white and they don't totally understand it, there's a method called collar conditioning that you go through a 6-week deal teaching that dog how the e-collar works, as opposed to, me telling Joe to sit down and me popping him on the rear end and lifting his collar up. It's just a different form of telling him that. And if it's not taught properly, those gray area corrections, they do lose trust. And I think that goes back to exactly what I was talking about earlier. If these dogs look to you for guidance, and just like Mr. Jeremy was saying, praise them when they do good, but when they do wrong, I'm a football coach and a baseball coach as well, and I think the same goes with our kids these days, and I think that's something that, and it's just my opinion, but that's slipping away. There has to be discipline. You have to hold kids accountable. You have to hold these, and they love me more. I mean, if I'm a tough coach out there, it doesn't mean I abuse them or do them wrong. Man, I go to the high school football game and all these little kids run up to me, and the next coach down the road that's all he does is give them popsicles after the game. It's not the same. It's a respect thing, and it's a trust thing. They know that, hey, Coach Brad's got our dang back, but at the same time, if we don't do right, he's going to hold us accountable and tell us what we're doing wrong. And, and now that takes time. The initial reaction from the puppy and the initial reaction from the 8-year-old boy or girl can be off for a little while, but then after that's set and that bond set, I think that trust is as strong as you can get it.
That's good advice. That is good advice. Now, Jeremy, before you were talking about sitting on the couch and cuddling the dog, you didn't say that's a bad thing, but I would imagine kind of what you're saying is, well, let me ask you the question: how do you balance discipline with affection?
You got to teach them, so it's a little bit like that gray area. For a young dog that's growing up, it's got to be kept black and white for them to understand. So meaning you've got to teach them what you expect them to do first. If all I do is come home and jump on the couch and they jump up there with me and we lay and watch TV, but then afterwards I'm wanting the dog to mind and sit on the bed and not jump on the couch because I got company, you didn't teach him that part first. Mm-hmm. Like they're always going to gravitate to the good time or the easy or the fun. And so you can't do that first. We always say exercise, discipline, affection. So the way their mindset works with, leadership and the alpha and the pack, it's that it has to happen in that order. Mm-hmm. And normally what happens is we flip it. The humanization is going to flip it. We want to cuddle and love and have fun with them, but then we want them to mind or we want to go do something with them, and it doesn't work that way in their mind. And so you teach them, sit down off the couch first. Once they understand that, we load them up. They sit up there with her. That's fine. But the minute I say get down, you got to get down, and you can't get back up unless I tell you to. And it's a process that you work through over time of teaching them that.
Anything you want to add to that?
No, I think Mr. Jeremy was spot on, and I think there's a balance. I have 2 inside dogs. I have a Cocker Spaniel that flushes our quail, and it's my daughter's little dog, and Cedar's in my lap every night, sitting on the couch. I pet and show affection to, and I have a chocolate lab every day. But at the same time, when I tell them what to do, I expect them to do like I say, and be a little lady or a little gentleman when they're doing it, and but at the same time, they know that I'll hold them in my lap and kiss them in the face and love all over them at the same time. My pickup truck, they're riding in the front seat. They won't be in the back. They're, part of the family. But at the same time, if I'm going to church that morning and I got all the family and the kids in the truck, I can't have muddy paws all over us. So, at that point, I'm going to say place and tell the dog where to place, and I expect them to mind and be obedient.
So maybe a little bit more structured and regimented when you're first beginning the training process, and then over time once they have that, because obviously, given that other example, if they don't know place, you can't use that command, right? So you have to teach them some of that structure and discipline.
Just time, and the I I talk about this to my customers all the time. You see Farmer Joe, and he's got a bulldog in the back of his truck, and he's like,
On a flatbed.
yeah, on a flatbed, and they're like, does Farmer Joe, is he a dog trainer? No, he's not a dog trainer. I mean, he gets out at the hardware store and walks in the hardware store, and the bulldog's on Main Street sitting on the flatbed, but
He knows not to get off that truck.
exactly. He spends so much time with that dog, and that's one thing. The biggest thing that I see a mistake with dogs. It doesn't matter how good you train them when they get older. That time you spend with them from 6 weeks or 7 weeks old up to 6 or 7 months old is so important. And that farmer had that dog with him and taught him, and it's just a lot of time you got to spend with that dog. And they can't stay with the pack too long. They can't be by themselves too long. It just takes a lot of time to get that across if that's what you want out of your dogs.
Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. Jeremy, whether it's hunting or training or just at the home life, do you I think you kind of answered it, Brad, but Jeremy, do you feel like, is there kind of one theme when an owner does something that weakens the relationship with their dog? Is there kind of a trend there that you've noticed?
Yeah, I mean, I always talk about pack mentality, and I stick with that description because, like, dogs are not necessarily pack animals or domesticated. It's how they think with that mentality. So, saying we always have is start off hard first, go soft later, right? So, being a leader, you have to do both. You have to tell them what they can't do, and then you have to praise them, spend time with them, because they seek it, but they seek leadership first.
Mm-hmm.
I think the number one thing I see people do wrong is get busy in life and allow them to do things they don't want them to, and then at the wrong time for the human or the owner, it happens, and they crank down on the dog and get onto them, and the dog's like, okay, well, why all of a sudden you're not allowing me to do this? And that hurts that relationship. It knocks that trust down a little bit, that now they're going to have to identify that and start building it back and start finding a way to build it back.
That makes sense. I'm curious, and I think the listener might be curious, what are your guys' take on using food or affection as training rewards? Do you guys use food as training rewards, or is there a line? Is that?
We use both at Mossy Pond. We use treat training, especially with a young dog, just showing them, what we're asking. After they're 6-8 months old, we use it. But as far as affection, 100%. I mean, that is how I make them tick. It's not with a treat. It's not. But I mean, when I'm telling them they won't sit, I'm like, sit. No, sit. But soon as, good boy, good job. If me and you're having a conversation, I don't change my demeanor that hard, during our conversation. But with a dog, that makes them tick. That's what makes them want to do it. But as soon as I tell them, good boy, good job, as soon as I give them that, I mean, it's better than me rolling in the floor with them, and loving on them, or a treat or a piece of steak or whatever. If you will change your demeanor like that and let them know that they did a good job, yes, and that would be categorized as affection in my book. Yep.
But treats are okay.
Oh, yeah.
But just clear rewards.
Early on for us, it's primary reinforcement. Like they want it.
Or when they're young, they're so food driven.
Yes. And then it changes into a retrieve driven.
Yeah.
I always thought of it, to us, treat, food, and the retrieve falls into that affection and reward category.
That's
There's
right.
some of them that are placed higher than others, but yeah, absolutely.
I'll go back to my first dog that I ever trained. I read the Water Dog book, but I never used a bumper for anything other than training But I felt like sticks were okay and balls were okay when we're just goofing around where I didn't have any expectations other than to play. But when the bumper came out, I could see just a switch flip in the dog. Okay, now we're going to do something else. Do you guys restrict certain types of activities from everyday life and only use it in training, or what? Does that have a role in your guys' mentality? Or is it just not so much items, it's more behaviors,
They
I
got
guess?
to earn it. I think early on you don't want them thinking that's always going to happen, but we're going to tell them when it can. Like, a dog's got to be a dog. They got to be able to run around and dig a hole and smell another dog and even interact with them a little bit. That is good for their socialization as they're getting older, but, like, they got to know when to do it, and keeping that black and white early on is the toughest part, I think.
Okay. But I suppose I can't play tug of war, having fun with the bumper, playing tug of war, and then ask them to give it back. Well, maybe later on you can.
Well, another thing depends on what you're trying to get out of the dog. If your dog is just an obedience companion around the house and you're going to enjoy, or, the kids are going to enjoy playing tug of war or in the yard, that's fine. But, if you're training that dog to be a duck dog, to recover game and be a conservation tool for us as duck hunters, no, you don't want him to play in tug of war with anything. And I don't recommend sticks or anything except a training aid like a bumper that simulates a duck, and then as fast as you can get off of that bumper, or like an ATB made by Avery that simulates a duck going to the real feathers, and that those would be the only thing that I would want them to retrieve in a perfect world and perfect scenario. As us as professional dog trainers, we've have access to feathers, so as much as we can get real ducks, real feathers in our dog's mouth, that's what we try to do. So, but I got some. We do a lot of obedience training, and some of my customers ask me, can I do this? Can I do? Well, what are our goals? You got to understand what your goals. If you only duck hunt twice a year, but you barbecue 3 nights a week outside, and you want to play with a tennis ball with him, and while you're grilling that steak and flipping that steak, you want to flip that tennis ball out there, and he comes back to you, and you're flipping your steak, and you hanging out with him. I mean, you got to understand and realize what we're trying to do here. Mm-hmm. And the biggest thing about dog training, that's why I love it, the spontaneity. There's no part of it that's cookie cutter, no part of it. And you can have a fun dog companion at the house that can play with the tennis ball, just like my chocolate lab. Trigger, he plays with a tennis ball, but we also guide 180 days a year with him. So you can do both. You just got to show them right from wrong and teach them. Spend a lot of time with them.
Consistency, clear communication, trust, all the stuff that we're talking about. But I think that is a good. I kind of wonder, and I could ask myself that same question. But I like you said, what do you want? Like before you even get that dog, what do you want? See him 4 years down the road, 5 years down the road. What do you want?
Yeah.
If you just want a companion, somebody to pet and go to work with and stuff like that, well, then you can probably have more of a loose relationship, maybe. But I guess that discipline. I don't know. I heard that military term, discipline equals freedom. Mm-hmm. If you understand.
I like that.
If you understand the boundaries, you're free to live inside of those boundaries. Yeah. So that just comes with clear communication. I want to switch to Eukanuba a little bit here. So you're both members of Team Eukanuba as pro trainers. Guys of your stature and experience, I think you could establish a relationship, let's just say, with pretty much any food manufacturer out there. What drew you guys to Eukanuba?
I'll go first. When I got into the field trials in the hunt test world, I didn't know as much as the next guy, and I was young. This was before Mr. Hughes started training me, and I felt like the only way that I could beat my competitor was through hard work. And I was actually working, and this was when I was in my 20s, I was actually working the dogs a little bit too much. I was working 4 and 5 setups a day, and what I was noticing is, very simple, plain and simple, they couldn't keep up. They couldn't work 6 days a week, 4 and 5 setups a day, and I was trying to find a food that they could hold weight and keep a good shiny coat, keep clear eyes, be ready to work that next morning. And I went through every dog food company out there. If it's out there, I fed it. I fed raw, I weighed food, supplements, you name it. And, when I got with Eukanuba, it was just a difference maker. The dogs had plenty of energy. Their coats were shiny when they come out of the. We're in the water dog world. When they come out of the water beads up on their back. Their eyes are clear. Their teeth, I didn't have to go get their teeth cleaned as much. I mean, everything was just a lot better. The dog's energy is what I was after more than anything. And now we run a quail operation in Georgia, and we got about 120 English pointers that's not in our training, that's just that we own. And we run 180 days a year. And if you've ever been to South Georgia and saw a quail operation, the English pointers by February and March, they fall off on their weight. Well, proof in the pudding. You can come to our kennel in March, go through our retriever kennel, but then walk over to our bird dogs and our English pointers. And in February and March, they run 14, 16 miles every morning, every evening for 180 days with a couple days off, a week. You go look at them, and every one of them have maintained their weight. They're not blowing out the kennel. The digestibility's there. It's just the best. It's easy to promote, and it's easy to showcase and be a part of their team because, proof's in the pudding. Walk through our kennels. Walk through Mr. Jeremy's kennel. It's the best. And it gave my dogs the energy where I could work them 4 and 5 times a day, and we could start winning field trials. And, that's probably what put us on the map. And if they wouldn't have had the fuel to do it, we wouldn't have ever been successful in the hunt test world, field trial world, if they wouldn't have had the energy to go.
Got to have the groceries, right?
That's right.
How about you, Jeremy?
Same thing Brad's talking about is like it ain't always just the hard work of what we were doing. We started looking at every aspect of what we do at our kennel, from training methods to training tools, items, bumpers, the kennels. The food was the one thing for me. I just always felt like you made sure you had high protein, high fat, and you throw it to them. And for us, getting in with Eukanuba, I felt like they were putting the same effort into their ingredients in the food as we were our work and our other stuff, the property, the ponds, the setups, the scenarios. So when I seen that and tried it, we seen the same thing Brad did. It just, we weren't fighting weight. We weren't fighting energy. It was every morning they're ready to go. And I've seen it change the dogs over the time that we started testing it, and that was one of the reasons we love it and tell everybody about it. Is it just, I know for them, they're doing everything they can and working hard to have the best food, and we've seen the process. We've seen the proof in the pudding.
That's great. That's great. Switching back to maybe the topic we were on a little bit before them, but I appreciate you guys talking about that because I do think, whether it's an athlete, high school athlete, college athlete, anybody, it's
you got to have the fuel.
You've got to watch your nutrition. You're not going to live off of Big Macs and, well, shouldn't speak bad about it. Well, I don't, yeah. You know what I'm saying, greasy food and go out there and have a great game. But I want to kind of switch to communication and body language, I'll say. So I'm going to use a couple analogies here. You coach baseball, talked about horses, but with, and I've trained a lot of horses, so you're on a horse and there's so many ways to accidentally communicate with a horse. You kind of have to think about it. Leg pressure, body position, your own nerves. The horse picks up on that. So there's a lot of different ways that you're communicating with a horse that maybe you don't realize or you need to realize. And then in baseball, I think it's maybe more than any other sport, body language is really important. Pitcher on the mound, kind of missing his stuff, doesn't like the call, bad body language. It's not going to make that umpire like you, and you're not going to get those borderline 50-50 balls. They're not going to call them strikes for you. Are we communicating with dogs more than we realize with our body language or
100%.
behaviors?
I've always felt body language is the first line of communication for the dog because they're not verbal. And, they know, we do this for a living, and, there's days that they look at me and they go, oh, yeah, he ain't paying attention today. And they're slipping, and, I haven't said anything, but they can tell by the way I walk up. Am I mad? Am I happy? Am I sleepy? Am I groggy? So I've always said body language from us is what they're reading first, and the key to dogs is reading them faster than they do us. But I feel like body language is a huge thing. They can tell when we're off our game or when we're paying attention or when we're not. And I don't think you fool it either. It's something you don't necessarily bluff it.
Are you better off, Brad, a day like that? Are you better off just skipping it? Skipping the training session if you're not into it? Or is it something
gosh, if any of my baseball and football players are listening to this, they're going like this. Bad reps are worse than no reps. Bad reps are worse than no reps. So, and that's what I tell them. Hey, if we're going to go in the cage, and or my dog trainers, if we're going to go out there and we're not going to give good reps, take the day off. Just rest. I'd rather you be on the couch than give bad reps. So yes, and as far as body language is everything. And if you watch a good dog team, handler team, I've watched Mr. Jeremy with his dogs. I mean, he won't say a word to them, but if he'll cut his eyes or point his finger at them, and they'll lay down for him. And somebody walks by, or a kid's kind of playing with them too much, and they want to stand up. They'll look at him. He'll look at them. He hadn't said a word. He's talking to me. We're having conversation, and he's just made his dog lay back down. So yes, a good dog handler team, man, they won't even talk. And when I go out guiding with Trigger in the mornings, we don't talk much. I'll give him a release command if he can't see me, but I may snap or I may point to him. Body language, they look for it. And Mr. Jeremy said this earlier. Another thing is their body language. What are they feeling that day? Are their ears up? Are their eyes clear? Is their tail wagging? I mean, how do they feel going out on that duck boat that morning? Well, what kind of day is he going to have? Or is he on the bow of the boat standing up, acting a little frisky? He's a little too high that morning. He's going to tell you the tale before the first duck volleys in on you. So, body language for the handler and the dog is key.
I bet. You guys probably get this question a lot. It crosses my mind a lot. I've always bought my own puppy, trained my own puppy, never had anybody else involved in it. But when we're talking about connection and the strength of that connection, if someone is considering buying a finished dog, I'll just use that word, I'm not sure if that's the word you'd use, or if they send you their dog, you train it, they get it back. Any concerns about the strength of the bond that that owner can have with its dog for the rest of their life together by not being a part of those early days?
Not any concern, no, because to the dog, I was talking about this earlier in my demo. Like, dogs live in the moment, so we all the time. I know Brad and them do too. We have dogs that we raise and we train them up, and they're 2 or 3 years old, and someone comes in to buy them. It's spending time with us, letting us show them how to make that connection. Take us out of the picture for 2 or 3 days, and now that dog is on them like they were us. So
it is okay.
It's the right guidance. And I wouldn't necessarily say that someone who raises a pup up to that level and then someone who buys a dog at that level is a stronger bond. There might be the time that's in there that you're spending with a puppy versus the time of how long you've been with this dog that's trained. But the bond can be just as strong if the leadership is right.
Okay. Brad?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Jeremy. A lot of people aren't going to like to hear that because they think if they take their puppy home and they love on it, then they have that bond like no other and it can't be changed. And, I have seen some great examples of that. But at the same time, so we got 9 dog trainers at Mossy Pond, and I give all of the trainers an opportunity. They can I'll buy them a puppy, and what they do, they bond with that puppy. They take it with them wherever they go, in and out of take them to the park, take them to the soccer games, take them around all of our environments, the ducks, the dogs, the four-wheelers, whatever, side-by-sides, dog trucks, inside the lodge, outside the lodge. But then at the end, after the dog's a year and a half, 2 years old, they can sell the dog and make them a little extra money. Well, then at that point, and long story short, the reason we built the lodge years ago was to bring those owners in and make them stay there 3 or 4 nights to teach them how to operate that dog.
Okay.
So as long as that owner that is buying, Joe's puppy, and he comes in and he spends 3 or 4 or 5 days and we teach him how to do that handoff, even though my trainer Joe has had that puppy for 18 months, and everywhere he goes, he sleeps with him, he trains with him, he goes to the park with him, he goes deer hunting with him. I mean, as strong as that bond is, after we do those 5 days and that owner takes that dog home and creates that bond himself, that dog will remember Trainer Joe when he brings him back in 6 years to board him, because they're going out of the country. I mean, the second he walks in that kennel, he can't see him, but he'll smell him and he'll remember him. And you can flip that role too. You can flip that role of that owner raising that puppy, just like my trainer Joe did. But those dogs, like I like what Mr. Jeremy said, they live in the moment. They can bond, and they can bond with you, whether you bring them up or you don't. Now
that's kind of been the description I've told people, is like, if that didn't happen, then we wouldn't be able to rehab dogs. Over the years at Whistling Wings, we've helped with some organizations. Like years ago with Katrina, everybody left dogs. People went in and got the dogs, and there was a lot of rehab obedience work we had to do for them to be able to rehome the dog, because they couldn't mash the dog with the owner, and it happens. So that in itself should kind of explain to people that it does happen. And there's not that one is stronger than the other. It's just that the dog can move to another person and have the same bond.
It's probably like, you guys both have kids?
Yeah.
You said, yeah, and I do too. So I guess maybe, I wonder if this is a good analogy. I love my kids equally, but I guess I love them differently.
Oh, yeah.
Is that kind of
I'm gonna agree with that.
Yep.
Yeah, so that a dog has room to love more than one person.
Oh yeah.
That's where dogs are a lot like people. They're individuals. Like no group of dogs is going to be the same. They're all going to have individual things that are different.
Yeah. I guess I kind of have 2 questions left before we wrap this up. I think, we're talking about hunting, duck hunting. Are there things that either of you guys do before a hunt that kind of sets that dog up for success that day, or is that not really a consideration for you?
I'm a weirdo about, a schedule. And I know this might not be exactly what you're asking, but they have to be fed, aired the same exact that morning, where they're prepared to go in the field. They have enough nutrients, enough fuel to, especially like on a really cold day, to have the fuel and to have aired properly, where they're not thinking about airing in the boat, in the dog blind, etc. As far as roading a dog or doing things like that, I know a lot of great trainers that do that. I don't believe in it. My biggest thing is feed and airing the dog properly before a hunt. I do think during the hunt, you may need some little bit of kibble, Eukanuba kibble in your bag in case if it's really cold, iced up or something, where they can get a little bit more nutrients, a little bit more fuel during the hunt, especially if the ducks don't fly till 9 or 10 o'clock. There's ice on their back when they come back to give them a little extra fuel. But as far as running them, exercising them, when I'm airing them, I want them to stretch good and want them to, blow off some steam where they're not going in there totally cold. Just like an athlete. But the biggest thing is give them some nutrients that morning, not much, because you don't want them to worry about torsion or bloat, twisting the gut because they got too full of a gut. But airing them good, give them a little bit of fuel, and get after it.
I used the bathroom before we got on this podcast.
That's right. Exactly.
Why the heck wouldn't a dog want to do the same thing?
That's right.
Jeremy, how about you? How do you approach a hunt?
Same way. It's with me, it's if I'm late getting up that morning and me sitting there and me and the dog looking at each other going for a walk, it kind of helps, I think, get us both leveled out, ready for the hunt. And I don't want to do anything that's going to have them jacked up and out of control, and I don't want to be out there all nervous and acting funny, so we both can kind of balance each other out. And having that routine, it's just like baseball, football. It's I've always used the analogy of the guys playing Major League Ball are still throwing like they did when they were 8 years old, and that's to get that mind muscle memory going. And it's that pre-game warm-up. It gets them thinking about what they're going into, and it's the same way with the dogs and the same way with me. We've got our steps that we do that gets us ready. It's very important, I think, to get us both on the same team, listening, remembering everything we've worked hard for through the summer to, have good hunts during the hunting season.
Yeah. We talked about a lot of good stuff here, and I think the listeners really eating this up, I would suspect. But I guess kind of as the parting question, if you could summarize your advice to a dog owner or a future dog owner on how they can develop that strongest relationship with their dog, how would you summarize that advice?
Clear and fair. Be clear and fair. So if you are going to show structure, just like what Mr. Jeremy said, the example, going through a threshold in a door, be fair. Make sure they understand why you were going first, why they weren't going first. Be fair, be clear. Make sure there's no gray area. Gray area is what loses trust and that bond and them looking for you for guidance. And categorizing it as love or respect too, whatever. Mm-hmm. But clear and fair and time. Time always helps. I mean, as much time as you can spend with them, that's what helps. As many environments as they can see, a plastic water bottle, a lawnmower, a cow. You don't want to go to a dove field and he's never seen a cow before. So the time goes into that category. As many environments as they can see, because if they're with you more, the more they can see, the better. But clear and fair. When you're clear and fair with them, then they don't get upset. They don't get timid. They don't get overexcited. I mean, it's just that B model right in the middle, dog that is just a gentleman, but can do the work if they're clear and fair. They don't get upset when you show a disciplinary action because they understand it. Mm-hmm. But stay out of the gray area with a dog. They're not as smart as us. Don't think they're smart as us. Clear and fair.
Good advice. Jeremy?
Take it slow. I think people get too much in a hurry, right? And it goes back to my military training. We did the same thing over and over to train for it, and that was to teach us what to do when stuff was going crazy. So, don't be in a hurry to teach things. Take it slow, make it solid, because on the hunt, when it is crazy, they will react to it. So everybody's always in a hurry with a young dog to get them on birds. If you take your first 2 years of the dog's life, take it slow, you're going to have another 10 to 12 years that you get to really have good hunts, and you're not working out problems. So slow down.
I like that one. Just kind of for the sake of time, do I ask this question or do I not? But I think I really want to know your answer, so I'm going to ask it anyway. Can a dog hunt successfully in its first year of life?
No.
Just depends. Yeah. I mean, it depends on how much time you get to spend with it.
I mean, I guess because there's that school of thought, you don't hunt it. It's,
And I mean, what
I think
what are we calling a hunt? I mean, how big of a hunter are you? How many distractions are you getting in? And I wouldn't say within the first 6 months, but a 10-month-old puppy. I mean, Mr. Jeremy's probably had plenty that he's taken out on a dove hunt or a duck hole. But it's with a professional trainer. It's with Mr. Jeremy, and he spent a bunch of time with it. You got to be real careful because you can ruin a 10-month-old puppy that's doing really, really nice, and then you get to that 10-month and you overstimulate him. Here's an example. We have a 4-month gun dog program. Guy drops his dog off at 6 months. I train it for 4 months. He takes it to a pit blind. He got 10 of his buddies in there. Haven't seen anything all day, have a great plan that we're just 1 or 2 is going to shoot, and then the big volley comes in, all 10 jump up, unload their guns. Everybody empties 3 shells apiece, 30 rounds go off. That 10-month-old, you have probably ruined him.
Yeah. Well, I think I guess when you talked about being patient and taking things slow.
I think it's that first year, if you use the word instructional season,
There you go.
It helps.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah, because I think you look at a dog, as an owner. If you just have one, you only have 10, 12, 13 years with it, and you go, wow, I'm not going to hunt with my dog the first year. But again, it's a little bit of patience with a long-term payoff,
I'm not
right?
saying you can't hunt. It's just you can't go on a barn burner with. You're going to mess up more than success you would have, I think.
Let's go shoot one teal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Call it good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little wood duck hunt.
There you go. For the listener, how do they learn more about you guys? Brad, why don't you? Where do they find you?
So we have Instagram, we have Facebook, Mossy Pond. Just type in on any search, Mossy Pond, our Mossy Pond Lodge. We have a website, and it'll tell you all about us, Brad Arington. You can look my name up. We got a YouTube channel. My personal cell phone number is 912-281-2070. Any questions? I mean, you don't have to pay us to call and ask questions. We'd love to help you. We want to spread the knowledge in what we do, help. We want the knowledge out there for the listeners where they don't confuse and stay in the gray area with the dogs. We want the dogs to have a fair shake.
Mm-hmm. Great. Jeremy.
So it's Whistling Wings Kennel. We have a website, theultimatesportingdog.com, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel, we've got quite a bit of our what I call training videos, shorts that kind of go along with our programs. You can kind of see how we do things. But checking us out on any of the social media outlets and shoot us a message. Like you said, we don't charge to talk to you, answer questions. And I've always told our clients and people that aren't clients that are becoming or looking at it is like, open communication is a big thing for what we do. It's training the dogs, that easy part. We want our owners there to learn. Mm-hmm. That to us is one of our things that is our passion, is watching an owner and a dog key up into a team and have fun hunts. And we get the pictures, we get the stories. So, but looking up Whistling Wings Kennel, Jeremy Criscoe, any other social media outlets, you can get a hold of us.
Perfect. I think maybe one of the more overlooked items, you guys must take so much pride when you hear about a dog's success after the owner has resumed time with their dog, right?
That's what makes us keep training.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a horse that I trained years ago, and I literally just about died during that experience. Literally, it was the toughest horse, but when we had a breakthrough, it was so deep, and powerful. Turned that horse back over to the owner. About a year later, they called me up and said, "This horse is bucking. I need you to take it back." And I said, "Well, tell me what you've been doing." They hadn't ridden it for a year. I felt so defeated and so sad because I pictured the joy that they were going to have in their life. Yeah. And that affected the way I chose people to train horses for.
I guarantee it. It will.
So you guys are the same thing. You know, it's a labor of love. So, well, thank you for your time. Really appreciate it. Hope everybody learned a lot. And thank you for sharing all your contact information.
Thank you for having us. This was a great opportunity.
Yeah.
Well, appreciate it. All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.